Two people, same goal, same starting point. Person A relies on motivation, gets excited, creates vision boards, and fails within 3 weeks. Person B uses the 10-second decision rule and microforcing techniques, feels zero motivation most days, yet achieves their goal in 6 months. The difference? Person B discovered what 2025 research calls forced consistency, a psychological framework built on studies showing habits take 59 to 66 days to form, not the mythical 21 days most people believe. This isn't about willpower or waiting to feel ready. It's about specific methods that make your brain do what it doesn't want to do. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to become Person B and join the 8% who actually succeed. But first, you need to understand why the other 92% fail so predictably. The brutal truth about goal statistics. Here's a question that might make you uncomfortable. Why do most people abandon their biggest goals before Valentine's Day even arrives? I'm talking about those resolutions you made with such certainty just weeks ago. The gym membership that seemed so important in January but now feels like a waste of money. The business idea that had you staying up late researching but now sits forgotten in your notes app. The healthy habits that lasted exactly 11 days before you decided one cheat day wouldn't hurt. The University of Scranton just released their 2025 research, and the numbers are brutal. 92% of people fail to achieve their New Year's resolutions. Think about that for a second. Out of every 100 people who set a goal in January, only 8 will actually reach it. The other 92 will find themselves right back where they started, often feeling worse than before, because now they've added failure to their list of problems. But here's where it gets really interesting. The timeline of failure follows a predictable pattern. Most people don't gradually fade out over months. They crash hard and fast. 43% give up before the end of fast January. The pattern repeats every single year like clockwork, and most people blame themselves for lacking willpower or discipline. That's where everyone gets it wrong. The problem isn't that you're weak or lazy or broken. The problem is a fundamental misunderstanding of how achievement actually works. Habit formation studies show that motivation-based approaches decay by week 3 because your brain's initial excitement naturally diminishes. Most people operate under the false belief that successful people wake up feeling motivated every day. They imagine that high achievers have some magical relationship with their goals where everything feels easy and natural. Reality check. Successful people don't rely on what you think they do. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They don't depend on feeling ready or excited or confident. In fact, most successful people feel the exact same resistance you do. The difference is they've learned to act anyway. Let me tell you about Sarah and Mike. Both decided to start a side business in January. Both had the same idea, the same resources, the same amount of free time. Sarah approached it the traditional way. She watched motivational videos every morning. She created a detailed vision board with pictures of her dream lifestyle. She followed successful entrepreneurs on social media and read inspiring quotes about hustle and passion. For the first 2 weeks, Sarah was unstoppable. She worked late into the night, fueled by excitement about her future success. Then, reality hit. The initial thrill wore off. Creating content felt harder than expected. Getting customers was more complex than the YouTube videos made it seem. The vision board stopped inspiring her and started mocking her lack of progress. By week 3, Sarah was making excuses. By week 5, she convinced herself the idea wasn't that good anyway. By February, she was back to complaining about her day job and promising herself she'd try again next year. Mike took a completely different approach. He never created a vision board. He didn't watch motivational content or pump himself up with inspiring quotes. Instead, he did something that seemed almost boring compared to Sarah's approach. He committed to working on his business for exactly 30 minutes every single day, regardless of how he felt. Some days he felt excited and worked longer. Most days he felt tired or uninspired or doubtful. But he showed up anyway, not because he wanted to, but because he had decided that's what he was going to do. 6 months later, Sarah was still planning and dreaming and waiting for the right moment to start again. Mike had a functioning business, generating income. not because he was more talented or motivated, but because he understood something Sarah didn't. Success isn't about feeling like doing something. It's about doing it, especially when you don't feel like it. This brings us to what psychologists are now calling the achievement gap. There's a specific psychological method that separates the 8% who succeed from the 92% who fail. It's not willpower, it's not motivation, it's not positive thinking or vision boards or morning affirmations. It's what researchers call forced consistency, and it completely changes how you approach any goal. Forced consistency works by removing choice from the equation. Instead of waking up each day and deciding whether you feel like working toward your goal, you make the decision once and then follow a system that doesn't care about your feelings. You create what psychologists call environmental and psychological forcing functions that make taking action the path of least resistance. The 8% who succeed have figured out how to make their goals inevitable. They don't rely on motivation because they know motivation is unreliable. They don't depend on willpower because willpower is limited. Instead, they build systems that force them to take action even when every part of them wants to quit. Especially when every part of them wants to quit. Here's what most people don't understand about that successful 8%. They experience the same doubts, the same resistance, the same lack of motivation as everyone else. The difference is they've learned to treat those feelings as irrelevant data. They've trained themselves to act based on their identity and commitments, not their emotions. This is where most goal-setting advice gets it completely wrong. Traditional approaches tell you to get motivated, visualize success, and then take action. But that sequence is backwards. Successful people take action first, then the motivation follows. They understand that you don't have to feel ready to start, you just have to start to feel ready. The method I'm about to share with you works because it bypasses all the psychological traps that catch 92% of people. It doesn't require you to feel motivated or inspired or confident. It doesn't depend on having the perfect plan or the right circumstances. It works when you're tired, when you're busy, when you're stressed, when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. But before you can master forced consistency, you need to understand exactly why your brain fights against your goals in the first place. There's a specific neurological process happening every time you face that internal battle between what you want to achieve and what feels comfortable in the moment. Why your brain sabotages your success. Your thinking brain knows exactly what you should do. Get up early, exercise, work on that project, make the sales calls. But your feeling brain has other plans. Stay comfortable, avoid effort, choose what feels good right now. This battle between your prefrontal cortex and your limbic system happens every single day, and understanding why your feeling brain usually wins is the key to everything. You know that moment when you're lying in bed and your alarm goes off. Your goal was to wake up early and work out. You set that intention last night with complete certainty. But now your bed feels warm and perfect and the gym sounds cold and miserable. Your brain starts negotiating. Just 10 more minutes. You worked hard yesterday. You deserve rest. One day won't matter. Before you know it, you've hit snooze 3 times and your workout window is gone. This internal battle happens because your brain is literally designed to work against your long-term goals. Here's what 2025 neuroscience research reveals about why this happens. Your brain has 2 competing systems running simultaneously. Your thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, handles planning and long-term objectives. This is where your goals live. Your feeling brain, the limbic system, controls emotions and seeks immediate comfort. When your alarm goes off, your thinking brain says get up and exercise. Your feeling brain says stay comfortable and warm. Guess which one usually wins? The feeling brain is older, faster, and stronger. It's been keeping humans alive for thousands of years by avoiding discomfort and seeking pleasure. The problem gets worse when you understand how dopamine actually works. Most people think dopamine is released when you achieve something good. That's wrong. Dopamine floods your brain based on anticipation of reward, not the reward itself. When you set a goal and imagine achieving it, your brain gets a massive dopamine hit. This feels amazing, which is why planning and dreaming about success is so addictive. But here's the trap. Your brain starts treating the planning phase like the achievement phase. You get the reward without doing the work. This creates what researchers call motivation decay. The timeline is predictable and brutal. Week 1, your dopamine levels are sky high because everything feels new and exciting. Week 2, the novelty wears off and dopamine drops. Week 3, your brain realizes this goal requires consistent effort with delayed rewards, and dopamine crashes. By week 4, taking action feels harder than it did at the beginning because your brain is no longer getting chemical rewards from the goal itself. Stanford University's 2025 study tracked people's brain activity while they planned goals versus when they executed them. Planning lit up the reward centers like Christmas morning. Executing the actual behaviors barely registered. This explains why you can spend hours creating the perfect workout plan and feel accomplished without actually working out. Your brain got its dopamine fix from the planning phase. Vision boards make this problem worse, not better. When you stare at images of your ideal life, your brain releases dopamine as if you're already living that life. The visualization feels so real that your subconscious mind starts believing you've already achieved the goal. This reduces your motivation to take action because your brain thinks the work is already done. Studies show people who use vision boards are actually less likely to achieve their goals than people who don't visualize at all. The same thing happens with motivational content. Instagram quotes about hustle and success give you a quick dopamine hit that feels like progress. Watching videos about morning routines makes you feel productive without actually being productive. Reading about successful people tricks your brain into thinking you're taking steps towards success when you're just consuming content about it. This is what psychologists call fantasy achievement. You get stuck in an endless loop of planning, visualizing, and consuming motivational content while avoiding the actual work. Your feelings change constantly throughout the day based on your energy levels, stress, what you ate, how you slept, and 1,000 other variables. If you wait to feel motivated before taking action, you'll be waiting forever. Motivation is like weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it rains, sometimes there are storms. Successful people don't check the emotional weather before deciding whether to work toward their goals. They show up regardless of conditions. This is why relying on feelings guarantees inconsistency. Your emotions are designed to respond to immediate circumstances, not long-term objectives. When you're tired, your emotions will tell you to rest. When you're stressed, they'll tell you to avoid additional challenges. When you're comfortable, they'll tell you to stay comfortable. Your emotional system has no connection to your goal achievement system. They operate independently, and emotions almost always win the battle. Most people try to solve this by getting more motivated. They watch inspirational videos, read success stories, and pump themselves up with positive self-talk. This approach fails because it's fighting against how your brain actually works. You're trying to artificially create the emotional state that leads to action, instead of creating the systems that make action inevitable, regardless of your emotional state. Successful people understand something that failures don't. Discomfort isn't a problem to solve. It's information to use. When you feel resistance toward a goal-related action, that's your brain telling you this behavior isn't automatic yet. Instead of avoiding the discomfort, successful people lean into it. They've rewired their relationship with uncomfortable feelings. Where most people see resistance as a stop sign, they see it as a growth signal. This rewiring happens through repeated exposure. Every time you take action, despite feeling resistance, you're teaching your brain that uncomfortable feelings don't control your behavior. Every time you follow through when you don't feel like it, you're building what neuroscientists call executive control. Your prefrontal cortex gets stronger and your limbic system's influence gets weaker. But this only happens through practice, not through motivation or positive thinking. The brain changes through repetition, not inspiration. When you perform a new behavior, your prefrontal cortex has to work hard to override your automatic responses. This requires significant mental energy, which is why new habits feel difficult. But as you repeat the behavior, something interesting happens. Activity shifts from the prefrontal cortex to the basal ganglia. a part of your brain that handles automatic behaviors. The behavior becomes easier and requires less conscious effort. This is why forcing yourself to take action when you don't feel like it isn't just about achieving your current goal. You're literally rewiring your brain to make discipline automatic. Each time you act despite resistance, you're building neural pathways that make future action easier. Each time you choose comfort over growth, you're strengthening the neural pathways that keep you stuck. The key is understanding that your brain's resistance to your goals isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do: keep you safe, comfortable, and alive. But safe, comfortable, and alive is not the same as successful, fulfilled, and growing. Achievement requires overriding your brain's default programming, and that happens when you stop relying on daily decisions and start building systems that make the right choices automatic. The psychology of forced action. This shift happens through what psychologists call identity-driven habits, a framework that eliminates the daily negotiation between what you should do and what you want to do. Instead of waking up each morning and deciding whether to work out, successful people decided months ago that they're the type of person who works out every morning. The decision was made once. Everything after that is just execution. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up and debate whether you feel motivated to brush your teeth today. You don't check your mood or energy levels first. You just do it because that's what people do. That's who you are. Someone who brushes their teeth. Elite performers apply this same automatic response to their goals. They don't rely on daily decisions because daily decisions are where goals go to die. Research from Northwestern University shows that the average person makes over 35,000 decisions per day. Each decision requires mental energy. By the time you've decided what to wear, what to eat for breakfast, which route to take to work, and answered dozens of emails, your brain is already exhausted. This is called decision fatigue, and it destroys goal achievement faster than anything else. When you rely on motivation and daily choices, you're asking your tired brain to make high-quality decisions about your future when it can barely decide what to have for lunch. Decision fatigue explains why you can start the day with perfect intentions and end it wondering what happened to your willpower. Your brain ran out of decision-making fuel hours ago. The solution is what psychologists call pre-commitment. Gallwitzer's 1999 research on implementation intentions showed that people who create specific if-then plans are significantly more likely to follow through on their goals. You make important decisions when your brain is fresh and your vision is clear. Then, you create systems that execute those decisions automatically. You remove choice from the equation entirely. This isn't about lacking willpower. It's about not needing willpower in the first place. But there's something even deeper happening here. Most people operate from emotion-driven behavior. They ask themselves how they feel. Then they act based on that feeling. If they feel motivated, they take action. If they feel tired or stressed or busy, they make excuses. Their feelings control their behavior, which means their results are completely unpredictable. Identity-driven behavior works differently. Instead of asking how you feel, you ask who you are. Your actions stem from your identity, not your emotions. This creates a fundamental shift in how you approach any goal. You stop saying, "I have to work out," and start saying, "I am someone who works out." You stop saying, "I need to write," and start saying, "I am a writer." The difference seems small, but the psychological impact is massive. Self-determination theory shows us that autonomous motivation, where behavior aligns with your chosen identity, yields better long-term adherence than external pressure or temporary enthusiasm. When you act from identity rather than obligation, the behavior feels more natural and sustainable. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Emma and Rachel both wanted to start a morning routine. Emma approached it the traditional way. She set her alarm for 6 a.m. and hoped she'd feel motivated enough to get up early. Some mornings she felt energetic and bounced out of bed, ready to conquer the day. Other mornings she felt tired and convinced herself she needed more sleep. Her morning routine happened when she felt like it, which wasn't very often. Rachel took a different approach. She decided she was the type of person who gets up at 6 a.m. every day. Not because she always felt like it, but because that's who she had chosen to become. On mornings when she felt tired, she still got up because tired people who get up at 6 a.m. is still part of her identity. On mornings when she felt energetic, she got up because that aligned with who she was. Her feelings became irrelevant to her behavior. 6 months later, Emma was still struggling with consistency and feeling frustrated with her lack of progress. Rachel had developed an unshakable morning routine that happened automatically regardless of her mood or circumstances. The difference wasn't willpower or motivation. Rachel had made the psychological shift from emotion-driven to identity-driven behavior. Research on habit formation supports this approach. Studies tracking people who started simple routines like flossing one tooth per day found that identity-based framing accelerated habit development. When participants thought, "I am someone who takes care of my teeth," rather than "I have to floss," the behavior became automatic faster and lasted longer. This shift changes everything about how you experience resistance. When you operate from "I have to," every action feels like a burden you're forcing on yourself. When you operate from "I'm someone who," every action feels like a natural expression of who you are. The resistance doesn't disappear, but it becomes irrelevant because your behavior isn't based on how you feel about the action. It's based on who you've decided to be. Identity-driven behavior also creates what researchers call behavioral momentum. Each time you act consistent with your chosen identity, you strengthen that identity. Each time you work out because you're someone who works out, you become more of someone who works out. Each time you write because you're a writer, you become more of a writer. Your identity and your actions reinforce each other in an upward spiral. This is where environmental design becomes crucial. You can't just decide to change your identity and expect it to stick. You need to create external systems that support and reinforce that identity. If you've decided you're someone who reads every day, you put books everywhere and remove distractions. If you've decided you're someone who eats healthy, you stock your kitchen with healthy food and eliminate junk food. You design your environment to make identity-consistent behavior the path of least resistance. Pre-commitment takes this even further. You create systems that make it harder to act inconsistent with your chosen identity than to act consistent with it. You sign up for a gym membership with a cancellation penalty. You schedule writing time in your calendar and treat it like a non-negotiable meeting. You tell people about your new identity and create social pressure to maintain it. You remove the option to negotiate with yourself in moments of weakness. Elite performers understand that discipline isn't a character trait you're born with or without. It's not about having superior willpower or motivation. Discipline is the result of intelligent systems that make good choices automatic and bad choices difficult. When you see someone who seems naturally disciplined, you're seeing someone who has created forcing functions that eliminate the need for moment-to-moment decision-making. But even with the strongest identity and the best systems, there's still that critical moment when you face resistance. That split second when your brain starts negotiating, making excuses, or looking for escape routes. This is where most people lose the battle. Not because there's the 10-second decision rule. The solution lies in a technique that exploits the exact moment when your brain switches from possibility to excuse-making. Northwestern University's neuroscience research reveals that you have a specific decision window where action can override resistance. But that window is incredibly small. The moment you think about taking action toward your goal, you have approximately 10 seconds before your brain shifts into decision fatigue mode and taking action becomes exponentially harder. Here's what happens neurologically during those 10 seconds. When you first think about doing something challenging, your prefrontal cortex activates and sends signals toward action. But simultaneously, your limbic system starts scanning for reasons to avoid discomfort. These two systems battle for control, and whichever one gets more activation wins. If you wait longer than 10 seconds, your limbic system almost always takes over because it's faster and more primitive than your prefrontal cortex. This creates the neurological window where action beats excuses. In those first 10 seconds, your prefrontal cortex has enough activation to override your comfort-seeking impulses. But you have to move fast. The longer you think about whether to take action, the more decision fatigue depletes your self-control and the more ammunition your brain creates for staying comfortable. Hesitation literally kills action at the neurological level. The technique that exploits this window is deceptively simple. The moment you think about doing something toward your goal, you count backwards from 5 to 1, then immediately take physical action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. The countdown serves as a pattern interrupt that stops your brain from generating excuses and forces your prefrontal cortex to stay in control. Why backwards counting instead of forwards? Your brain is used to forward counting from childhood games and activities. Forward counting feels familiar and gives your limbic system time to interfere. Backwards counting requires more cognitive effort, which keeps your prefrontal cortex engaged and prevents your excuse-making system from taking over. The countdown literally hijacks your brain's attention and directs it toward action instead of avoidance. Mental contrasting research shows that shorter decision windows improve follow-through because they prevent the brain from generating competing scenarios.